Hello right bags, it's Jade. Welcome to an Immortals Phoenix Rising video today. I want to talk about what I really liked about this game when I got a chance to play it a few months ago. I was invited by Ubisoft to have 2 or 3 hours hands-on experience with it and it was fantastic, so big shout out to them. But this isn't going to be a marketing video as such in terms of like 10 things you need to know and stuff like that. I thought I'd be a little bit more candid, going to talk a little bit more off the cuff and not sound like I am trying to be IGN. I hope that appeals to you. If it does, hit me up with a like. If you like what you hear about the game, then make sure you check out some of the future content. I'll say it right now, I will be covering this game. I really like the look of it. It was just nice to play something that has got lots of colour, vibrancy, but also has got a lot of the tropes that I've come to expect and enjoy from Assassin's Creed games. Now, I'm not really an OG Assassin's Creed player. Like, I played the originals, but I haven't really got into them in years. Assassin's Creed Valhalla is the first one that's piqued my interest, and it's kind of had a little bit of success with me, switching mainly from survival content into a bit more open world, and it's been fantastic. Like, I really enjoy diving back into it. So anything like that now, I'm like, you know what? I'm down for this. I'm going to try this one out. So let's face it, people are looking at this and going, it's Breath of the Wild. Well, you know what, as popular as the Switch is, and as millions of them consoles being sold by now, not everyone has played that game particularly, especially if you're a hardcore Xbox or PlayStation head, you may not bother with a Switch. And so chances are you may not have tried Breath of the Wild, but you like the look of it, you like the idea of puzzle elements and open world exploration and using your bow and different combat techniques. And this game's got all that. Yes, it does borrow heavily from that game. I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, as long as it's not just telling the same story, as it can have very similar combat options, it can have very similar tropes. But of course, at its core, this game is Assassin's Creed. It's made by the same people that made Odyssey. It's got the same sort of functions. You've got legendary abilities that you can use. You've got an eagle, or in this case, a phoenix. You've got a steed that will take you transform around. They've been doing that for a few years now, so I can't really label or criticise Ubisoft for copying Breath of the Wild when they've actually got some of them core components always been part of their games. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it because I've never got into Breath of the Wild. I've never been a Nintendo boy and I've never been a Zelda fan, to be honest. So I like the look of this though because it's just really colourful and it's something a bit more I know. Like the Greek mythology, I think everyone studied that, whether it was in primary school or high school or whatever. We've all got some sort of little knowledge about some of the creatures, the legendary things like the Cyclopses or the Medusas or the Golden Isle itself. And this is what also appeals to me, that mythos. I love mythology, and DLC in the future, which I'm not usually a big fan of promoting, is going to be focused on Chinese mythology. I'm really excited about that as well. I love mythology. I love British mythology. I love the idea of gods and monsters roaming the lands, and obviously that's what this game was originally called. Supposedly they changed it because it was more of a focus on Phoenix, but secretly they had some trouble with Monster Energy, who have been a bit of a bugger and actually trying to stop them using the name. Looks like they won, or they just couldn't be bothered going to court over it. Anywho, big open world. I got a chance to explore this area where there's huge furnaces in the background. We're going to be fighting autonomous creatures, sort of mechanical robot monsters or variations of some of the other creatures. You can see my horse has got a mechanical feel to it, a steam clockwork one. And I think that's the main skin, but you can change the skins. If you've played Assassin's Creed Odyssey, you'll know what to expect. Lots of different loot, lots of different weapons, lots of different steeds, skins that you can maybe earn, and abilities. The crucial thing here is, I don't know if it was in Odyssey as well, it's been in Valhalla, is picking up resources that will make sort of different stuff for you. In Valhalla, it's very simple. You can pick up a mushroom, you pick up some berries, it replenishes your health. In this game though, these regents, these items can replenish your health, but you can combine them into potions and they'll help you with either your health, your stamina, also your special abilities, your strength. And I quite like that. It's a pretty old RPG trope, but nevertheless going and gathering certain ingredients reminds me also a little bit of like gathering in survival games. So yeah, I'm down for this one. It adds a little bit more complexity to it rather than just necessarily having a health bar that re-heals. You've got to actually go out there and get yourself prepared a little bit more. Now the combat you're looking at now is pretty bombastic, it's colourful, it's bright. We've got various different enemies. We've got a huge Automon, as I said there, and then we've got these huge other creatures trying to attack us, which look a bit like fiery sort of griffin men. I don't know what they're really called. My mythology is not that great. Like I said, I enjoy it, but I'm no expert. There's plenty of creatures I don't know the full names with, or I'm definitely saying their names wrong. And then you've got like sort of carbon copy little mini guys that look pretty much like Greek or Roman warriors that are going to battle with you as well. But what I really like is they've all got their own abilities, they've all got their own movesets, so you're going to have to think about it a bit more challenging. Maybe if you do want a challenge and you're not ready to dismiss it as a kid's game, you could probably find a big challenge putting it on a harder difficulty here and just seeing what the enemies have got. You can see they've got the health and they've also got a shield bar, which I think they take more damage when you get that shield all the way down. They'll take even more, it'll be easier to do like finishing moves and stuff like that. It's been a while since I played it, I ain't going to lie, and like I said, I'm really hopeful to get a code very soon so I can make guides, because that's what I will be focusing on. But yeah, it looks great. The visuals in it are amazing. I think the colour of it is great. The effects when you're taking on enemies, you obviously got big flashy numbers if that's your thing to see what kind of damage you're doing. But look at that, like the lingering path there of that monster when you killed it. It's great stuff. So yeah, that's what you got. The potions on the left I really like, a bit more complicated. The way you can traverse and move around with the wings, your steed. I really enjoyed going on horseback all through England at the moment in Valhalla. It's just been one of the better experiences this year in gaming, and so I'm looking forward to going through another gorgeous, colourful game where it's got something really nice to explore. Hopefully it's got enough to do. There's lots of different enemies, you'll come across all sorts of creatures, and there are going to be side quests and stuff that you'll find to help you with your story of taking on Typhoon, which is the big bad titan, and you've got to help the gods pretty much defeat him. Now throughout the game you're going to be narrated by two of the gods. Prometheus and Zeus will be talking over your deeds and adding some quips and jokes along the way. Yeah, it was a few bits funny. I found a few bits funny, but I'll have to see how it plays out. After maybe 40 hours of them commenting, I may be getting a little bit tired of them, but I don't know how proficient it's going to be in terms of them talking over. It might be just certain bits when you've beaten a boss. It seems that way anyway. My 2-3 hours of it, they weren't really talking and yapping every 2 seconds. Now puzzles is a big element in this game, or environmental stuff like you saw there, using a flaming arrow to set this furnace off. That's going to be a big order of the day, using your arrows to get through certain markers and to hit certain targets to progress the next part of the story. So there's going to be a lot of archery in the game as well. So again, that's pretty cool. I've been enjoying using my bow a lot in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and I will be referencing these types of games a lot because they are Ubi games, so I can't help it. I've been enjoying Assassin's Creed. It's the first time I've enjoyed an Assassin's Creed game in years, and so yeah, it's just made me excited about what else is on offer. And when it comes to movesets, you can see I've got an axe there at the moment. It's like a special ability axe, and then I've got a sword. I do believe you can equip different types of weapons, and there's definitely different types of abilities. Now you're going to have to earn these or find them out in the open world, and you can pretty much upgrade them over time and mix them in and out. So you'll be able to swap over certain abilities. So you've got your 4 there, and you can switch them out to whatever ones you want. I have to say, I'm not a big fan of the randomised loot. I do believe that's going to be the case unless anything's changed. It's not like Assassin's Creed Valhalla where weapons are only ever in that location. It is more like the Odyssey version where you just get loads of different types of weapons. I feel like looking at some of these when I played through it as well, there wasn't huge differences in them, and it did feel like a lot of these weapons were kind of throwaway. But I know that was pretty popular with a lot of people, and a lot of people playing Valhalla don't necessarily like there's only a limited amount of weapons and you're not necessarily getting loads of loot chucked at you all the time. But for me, I just prefer that version. That's definitely a personal preference. I like the idea of being able to upgrade my weapons and take them along with me rather than necessarily having to go and be forced to use something different because it just doesn't match my power level. So yeah, I have to see how that plays out. Maybe there will be an opportunity to upgrade them. I can't remember seeing that in the menus, or I wasn't told any of that information, but it could be there. It's just something maybe I didn't ask properly. But for sure, there's plenty of weapons to find in the game, and there will be lots of armor sets and different ways to customize yourself, and that's all good and dandy. Definitely in a colourful game like this, any way that you can make yourself look how you want it to look and making it a bit more rewarding, going around and exploring and finding chests and stuff, yeah, it's all good. Now this is what I'm really looking forward to as well, bosses. So I really enjoy taking on the Zealots, which were in Valhalla, and the harder bosses, and I think in Odyssey they were like soldiers that would come after you, or mercenaries or something like that. So in this case it feels a little, I don't want to say Dark Souls, oh not every game is Dark Souls, you know, just because it's got a hard to defeat boss, but yeah, you're kind of looking for its weak points. You've got to telegraph or find out how its moves are telegraphed so you can make the most of getting out of its way, and that's a new challenge to me. After playing survival games for nearly 5 years, having some proper bosses in the game or some enemies that don't just do the same motions is great for me. It's just adding a new layer of fun. It's making me look at other games again like Dark Souls with a little bit more I'd say interest. I want to get into it because I like the challenge, and that's been really fun, taking on the Zealots underpowered. So if this game's got stuff like that where you can see we're taking on this clanking Ottoman, then yeah, I'm down for that too. There's different ways to fight these guys, and some of them are going to be a bit OP, or I'm going to have to come up with different strategies. I'm hoping that's going to be the case. There are lots of creatures that I come across, and I did come across a few boss-like creatures, and yeah, they all had their own special movesets, which I thought was really cool too. I'm just hoping it's going to be challenging enough. So like I said, this isn't just pure marketing. I'm giving you kind of what I'm fearing. If it isn't challenging enough, if it's going to be too easy, then yeah, that's going to be a no-no. Obviously, based on the demographic they're going for, it could be potentially I'm going to have to increase that difficulty quite high, especially after coming to a point in Assassin's Creed Valhalla where the game just gets really easy, like just over halfway through, and so you can increase difficulty on that as well. So yeah, you can adjust it, and I think that's one thing Ubisoft are making clear with their games going forward, is that you can adjust and change so much and tailor it to how you want. But this boss fight, yeah, it's got its movesets, it's got its different phases, it's everything you're looking for in an RPG game where you take on some of these enemies, different challenges and stuff. I like the idea of slowing down. I've been using that a lot in the other game. I will keep mentioning it, I've got to, because like I said, I've just been enjoying it, and it's making me want to play this game even more. But slowing down time or dodging out the way, giving you that extra few seconds to take aim is important. Maybe my archery skills improving in this game will help me in Valhalla, because I cannot hit a barn door if I was a foot away from it sometimes. My aim is so bad. Maybe I need to go Specsavers. Now, you're not going to be talking as Phoenix as far as I'm aware. I could be wrong on that again as well, I'm not too sure. I don't think there's too much story segment based on your character. You can play it as a girl or boy, whatever it is, and it's not going to necessarily be the focus. The story's going to come from the narrators, and I kind of like that idea. I don't think everything has to have a protagonist that speaks or has lots of big story content or lots of voice acting in it and stuff, as long as the rest of the story is pretty decent. And yeah, the idea of going against these gods, getting help from other gods and getting abilities from them is pretty decent. What we're looking at right now is the potions, and as I said, you've got to make them, you've got to prepare, and this reminds me a little bit of The Witcher, getting prepared in certain instances and making sure you've got enough of the right stuff. It's all pretty basic though, let's face it. It's stamina, it's health, it's strength, so it's not exactly that complicated, but you can see you can upgrade them over time, and this was something that adds that extra layer to it, just something a bit more to make it not too kiddified, not too simple. You can upgrade them and do different things with them, get them to different levels, and I like that. That's adding another scope to it, as long as it doesn't become a horrible grind looking for these resources. But you can see they're pretty simple. Now, you can eat all of these items you can see up there, like the mushrooms and stuff, and if you eat them, they'll increase whatever that bar is. So if you eat an apple, you'll get some health out of it. If you eat a mushroom, you'll get some shield or stamina out of it, whatever it is. So it's not like it's they're useless, but if you do combine them, they do make better potions in the future. I guess the only problem here is that you've got to go to these stations to do this, the Cauldron of Circe, and this is where you'll be making them. So you've got, like I said, got to prepare a little bit. But I like that. I feel it's like making the game just a little bit more interesting, gauging what I've got to need, or making sure I'm topped up and I've got enough of the gear. And then the animation's pretty cool for it as well, as you prepare your potions. Now, I was only allowed sort of in one region, the Forge Lands, but you can see you've got loads there, the Grove of Kleos, and then we've got the Gates of Tartarus, which are pretty much going to be the bad guys area. I think there's like 7 or 8 of them. That sounds about right. With the DLC that will come if you do buy the Season Pass, not that I'm promoting it just yet, we'll see how the main game goes. But yeah, it looks big enough. Like, this biome was pretty huge. It took me a good few minutes to get across from one zone to the other. It's got lots of verticality to it as well, and you're going to be climbing quite a bit. Part of the puzzle solving or puzzles that are in the game do involve you sometimes climbing. You can see different types of traversal here, which is pretty good, using my horse and then using my wings to get across. I like that combination of stuff. It's just making it all just a bit more varied, rather than just traipsing along like you do in Assassin's Creed and then obviously pulling your horse. This is just adding a new layer. So one thing that's been not bugging me a little bit, but just looking at the footage again while I'm talking over it, is obviously your horse has got its speed and bars go down, fine, you're not going to be able to run as much, but the stamina to do with climbing, and I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. You have got your potions, and the idea is that obviously you use your stamina potions, and you've got to be careful about using too many if you're not going to be able to make it up to certain places. Maybe it will make it more of a challenge exploring certain areas. You've got to have at least 10 potions if you want to climb a certain place, or explore a little bit more around, see if there's another way to get up there. That all adds more to the game, but sometimes it's just annoying. Like, you might get right to the edge of something, you haven't got enough stamina potions, and oh my god, I'm gonna have to go and make a bunch more now to get me up. That will get old pretty quickly. But I guess we'll have to play it out, see how much of the content is kind of high or in need of me using that stamina. Does it add to the game as a challenge, or does it become just annoyance? Now, some creatures here, I feel like some of them are a little bit wasted as just everyday minions. I know we've got to have some minions, and I guess we're going to have various different versions. There's like corrupted enemies, there's alpha versions. That's what the corrupted ones are in the game. They're pretty much the same creatures, but different, slightly different abilities and just stronger. But this guy here, a Minotaur, is something I would have expected there to be a boss fight. It looks like you will be a boss fight, but he'll be a larger version, or he's going to be even more alpha than he is here at the moment, and he's just kind of plopped around. So they've obviously used a lot of the models and just rescaled them or resized them, maybe given them some new abilities. Like I said, I've not faced a giant version of this, but I can predict after fighting some of the autonomons that will be the case. And yeah, I don't know, it makes maybe finding the bigger ones not as special. Like, I like the idea of really big, huge mythological creatures, some of them being only bosses rather than just being scattered about everywhere in mini version forms. Now, that said, about some of the creatures maybe being reused or reskinned, this guy looked pretty cool, and I like the idea that you will find these creatures that are just out in the world, like alpha versions, like the legendary creatures or like the zealots in the Creed. Yeah, and you can go and play this game differently as well. That's something I've not really touched on. There is stealth in this game. That's why it's more like Assassin's Creed to me than anything else as well. It's still got all the tropes that you'd come to expect, just very much more bombastic combat where you'll be doing almost Devil May Cry style combos in the air, and that's going to be a big feature of it as well if you use it in the right way, using them combos to good effect. But yeah, this is obviously a Cyclops, just with some new skins and stuff. But it does look good, it does. I'll hand it to it. It's all really colourful, it's all really nice. And I've got no problem with this. Like, people cry their eyes out, it's not realistic enough. Get out of here. Like, if the game's good looking and it's got decent combat, it's got decent story, it's got decent worlds to explore. I love this kind of stuff. I like arty stuff. I like cartoony stuff as well. I ain't got a problem admitting that. I think it's pretty cool. I mean, look at all the anime and mangas and stuff. By the way, which they've made an Immortals Fenyx Rising manga, like a 2-minute little side story. You should go watch it or check it out. Look it up. It's pretty cool. So here's just some footage of them alphas again, just to emphasise some of the creatures that you'll face and different ways you challenge them. These are souped up versions. There's like a corruption in the world. You're going to have to take care of these, otherwise these guys will just keep roaming around. And once you've cleared the corruption, once you've killed all of these guys, then that corruption pretty much goes away. And you won't have to worry about these alphas pretty much owning you. But yeah, you can see what I'm talking about. We're facing another Minotaur, but he's just a bit more badass this time. Like I said, I really hope there are some creatures that are only boss fights rather than just reskins. A small little criticism there, just a little criticism, but I don't want it to be a huge focus. I'm just saying, I want there to be lots of variations. That's something I've been looking for, and other games I've played like Ark, very different, but with so many dinosaurs and creatures in that game and stuff. I like the idea of just having lots of different things to fight off against. And it's important, especially with combat, and you know, it's the main focus of the game, although there are some puzzle elements as well, which I'm going to dive into before we finish the video off. So I said earlier, you'll be using your arrows as help getting around environmental puzzles, firing them through certain markers to activate certain chests or getting certain stuff. And yeah, that's all good and dandy. It just adds a little bit more, mixes up that gameplay a little bit more. So no problem with that. I think it's pretty interesting working out exactly how these will pan out and the difficulty is. So they're little puzzles in themselves. Which leads me nicely onto the vaults, which I felt were okay. Like, I don't know if I really want to be doing all of them. I guess I will, because they'll be pretty easy to make guides on, as in like I could go and find them all quickly, do them all quickly and get videos out on them. But yeah, you've got these vaults that you'll travel through and you'll get rewards out of it, so it's definitely worth it. There are ways to increase your abilities or upgrade, so it's definitely going to be worth going through these vaults to get whatever reward it is. And they do mix them up. They're not all just simply parkour or challenges. I have done some other videos covering a lot of the individual stuff for this game, so you should go and check them out. I'll leave the links in the comments down below. But yeah, there's enough here, I think, variety to mix it up and make it not feel too one note, even if it is just movies using like telekinesis to move some boxes in this instance. But there's other ones where I've played pinball and using orbs in different ways as well, or trying to fire arrows in certain ways, and then just a typical sort of parkour as well. I guess my biggest fear is that this will get old pretty quickly though. Like, as much as I like a puzzle, and sometimes you do want a break from the combat and stuff, if it's just doing this over and over again, moving certain boxes, yeah, I could be in for a rough time taking care of some of these guides. But from what I was told and from stuff I looked up, there was a big choice and variety in these, but I won't know until I've actually got full access to the full game. So yeah, expect a proper review of first impressions, at least, when I've put a good chunk of hours. I did one for 50 hours in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and I'll likely do something maybe a little bit smaller. I'm hoping this isn't going to be a 200-hour game, but yeah, something along them lines. If you found anything useful, let me know. If you've seen or heard about this game before, let me know. Does it appeal to you? Will you be trying it out if you've already got through Assassin's Creed Valhalla? Or is Cyberpunk only the game in your thoughts right now? Until next time, Ratbags, I will catch you lot later.